Hey there. I'm just going to leave this for the day, actually forever. Um, a couple of things before I dive into the last part of what I wanted to share with everybody here on the planet is that when we begin to think about, for example, a local city council, okay, and you have a mayor, okay, and they are sort of perceived through the lens of the people that live in a city as sort of the administrative end of things, and then of course you have a council that has the relationship that they have with the people that live in the city. So they think them sort of as the way that it's set up under a constitutional republic, if you will, is that they serve the people. Okay, they serve at the how do I put it? For us. Okay, we pay their paychecks. Without us, they don't have a job. Okay, I grew up as a child reminding them of that whenever I ran into a problem where they thought that they ruled over me or us or even others. I would put a mirror up or a stop sign and said, do I need to remind you that the very paycheck that you use to put a roof over your head comes out of my pocket? Okay, so the energy that you get, that you use to do what you do, comes from the energy from which I produce, which means all the producers. That's back to biology, right? Producers and consumers of energy. So what happens when you have an imbalance between the producers and the consumers, or the producers and the parasites? You end up with a completely imbalance in nature, don't you? Okay. So when you think about that, and then you scale it up to the state level, right? In a state, a nation state, okay, remember the nation states got together to form the United States. Now they're united under one banner, which is one flag, which is the United States flag. And the United States flag that they use is not a flag of peace. Okay, it's actually a war flag. And of course, if you go back to everything about the Treaty of Paris and all the rest of that, the Revolutionary War, put all that together through the lens of a Mason, put that through the lens of going all the way back through the Vatican, the Roman Empire, and of course, because I'm an Indian, I'm tribe, okay, clan, and you look at the 6 aboriginal treaties that exist between the native 13 original tribes and clans of planet Earth, okay? We have peace treaties in effect between us. And if you go to the International Criminal Court, and of course some of this is going to be very difficult to find, okay? But the one which is known as the Americas Empire, which is before the Vatican's discovery doctrine to dominate, because it sees through the lens of a survival predator that in order for it to perpetuate itself, it needs to conquer more of what it takes in order to build bigger armies in which they conquer more stuff. Okay? So the Americas Empire, North America, if you will, is known as the Noah's Ark Treaty, which is not a boat. The Noah's Ark is a treaty. Okay? So when the Roman Empire was defeated the first time by what is known as the Time Walkers, as Patty will describe to you in her videos on Project Ascension, they were given an ultimatum. They will either surrender or they will be turned into pillars of salt. They surrendered. That was 408 AD. Okay? So it wasn't until the 15th century that the white tribes of Europe sold the title back, essentially gave the Vatican, which is the Draco and the Anunnaki, the ability to be able to conduct business again. Those are all your parasitic corporations, okay? They have it written into their statutes because they're dead. Remember, they're demons, dead light, okay? So when you have something that writes a rule amongst their own collective body, okay, that says that in order for us to maintain what it is we're aware of, which is ourselves, which is our corporation, we have to continually harvest that which is electrons in order to maintain what it is that we are, which is a parasite. Okay? That's why they got to go bye-bye. And my clan mother already did that by filing the necessary papers. I posted them up on my Facebook page which includes 9 documents that she signed to put them out of business. And she's perfectly within her right to do that because the clan mothers have always been sovereign. The clan mothers, because we honor the matriarch, are the ones that pick the male chiefs. The males don't dominate on this planet, okay? Because there's a goddess here. And more importantly, this is a classroom. So when you sort of put this together from a local council to a state legislature to, for example, an executive, these are hierarchies, okay? Hierarchies are reptilian and Anunnaki, okay? Those are their pyramids. They rule from the top down, okay? Which means you answer to me. You obey me. This is when we get into the rule-driven functions, okay? So when you're in a true autonomous zone in the higher density consciousness realms, we're autonomous, okay? Love is the law. And we run that vibration. So that means that you don't have to worry about us, and we don't worry about you. You're free to do whatever you want. Manifest all you want. Because the energy that you use to do that with is what love is. You know how to live in a state of peace. So if you already know how to live in a state of peace naturally with nature, it means that you do it naturally. It means you don't even have to think about it. It just comes naturally. That's what it means to graduate in the cosmos. That's what it means to graduate in a classroom. Because you learn how to become what that is. What that is, which means what you're aware of, which is yourself. You're in a state of peace. So when you've learned to be in a state of peace, then you're in a state of peace with everything that is in nature, aren't you? That's right. When you've learned to be in a state of peace within nature, which is the biosphere, which is this classroom, you graduate. It means you learn how to live in a state of peace, which is above a love vibration. Because a state of peace is 600 million hertz. Okay? That's 100 above a love frequency. That's graduation. Because now you're giving away electrons without even thinking about it. You're a lighthouse. That's the point of the classroom. So one of the things that happened, for example, with me, when you sort of scale us up to the Washington, D.C., Congress, the judiciary, the executive branch, which is another ruling structure, and then you have Russia, the German, all the different countries that have their own ruling hierarchical setups, right? Well, scale it up and say, okay, well, this is just one planet. Do you not think there are not 1 billion other planets in the galaxy? There's far more than that, okay? But do you think that there's not some body out there in the cosmos that is sort of looking after things for us? Another council, if you will, that is sort of making sure that everything is in peace and balance? Because we do have galactic cops, and we do have councils that meet. And one of them is called the Andromeda Council of 12. So when you begin to sort of scale this up a little bit, you realize that there are other players in this, besides a state legislator, a city council, that make decisions, okay? Particularly when we're talking about a goddess is in this planet, which is a teacher in this classroom. Because there is a dean, like a dean in a university, there is a dean in the Milky Way galaxy, Gaia, the dean of the Milky Way University campus system, okay? So people need to realize and sort of wake up that, it's not just us, and it's not just inside this planet, okay? Because there are a lot of classrooms in this galaxy with gods and goddesses that provide the biospheres for our biospheres to come in here in living spirit, which is living light, okay? So when you're able to live in peace within your own self, within your own biosphere, chances are we let you loose out there, you're going to be able to live in peace with others, aren't you? Well, that's the whole purpose of a classroom, isn't it? Right? Learn how to be self-sustaining, copper top battery, right? Okay, so you're your own lighthouse. And when you're your own lighthouse, you don't need any energy from anybody else, and that makes it easy to live in a state of peace wherever you go. So I had a phone call when I was having major surgery done on my hernia. And this was sort of a wake-up call for me, which is I was just about ready to get rolled into surgery to have, and this was major surgery. I had a 5-inch hole in my abdominal wall. So it looked like if you looked at me physically, completely naked, you'd see what looked like I swallowed a watermelon. Okay? And that came as a result of a prior surgery that I had, which was an umbilical hernia. And so it required a specialist, a world-class specialist surgeon, to fix it, even though there are other ways to repair things. But that's how they do it here. Okay? And so I was getting ready to be rolled in, and I got a phone call. And because it was hard to hear because there were doctors and anesthesiologists around me, the person that called me represented a galactic council. And they were wanting to thank me, okay, for what I've done while being here and the things that I do. And that's a humbling experience, okay? That's when I sort of say thank you very much. It's the highest compliment that you can get, okay? Because you realize the nature in which we use the energy that we do, okay, for the purposes for which we do it for. Because for me, I serve a goddess, okay? I work for her. Everything that I do. And I could break out in tears and cry because this morning I began crying like crazy. So I realized this is not the place to release all that energy. Because everywhere that I go, I absorb everything. So I have to find ways to get rid of it. So I knew from the time that I was a child I was going to be under severe attack. And I've been under attack all my life, so I know who to go to, okay? Because I have to make sure that my timeline, okay, is maintained to this point in time, okay? So everything that I do is always going to be for her first, okay? Because I love to be in nature. I'm a nature boy, which means I'm also a nature girl because I have creative imagination. And that's the beauty of it. So I wanted to finish with a question here that I ask everybody on the planet. Does humanity know how to obey the laws of nature? Right? Naturally. Naturally meaning without thinking about it. How many beings do we have on this planet that can go out in nature without even thinking about it and obey the laws of nature? Well, I can tell you what they are for me. Can you live in peace with everything that is in nature without holding it captive or without killing it? Okay, that's the first one. Number two, are you able to live in harmony and balance with everything that is out there? Because everything and the way that this sort of works in a bidirectional mirror is really a projection and reflection of who we are. So this is where, when we really get down deep, okay, into our soul, if you will, the essence of our spirit, is how much do we love who we are? Because it's going to be pretty difficult if we don't love the energy that represents what we are, that we're going to be able to share that energy with others if we don't love who we are when we look in the mirror. So what I do when I look in the mirror sometimes just to test to see where I'm at is, how are we feeling today? Where are we at? How's our energy doing today? Okay, do I love who I am? I love the energy that I'm feeling today. Okay, so where we are at any one given time really is asking ourselves in the mirror, where are we at any one given moment of time with our energy? The teachers here on this planet are here to assist us in learning how to master our energies, okay? So that we're not in a reactive mode. When we experience things through the communication of the energy from others that is lower than what ours is, so that we're essentially draining their battery and escalating the lowering of the energy through both of us. I think I mentioned one time in a previous video about a circle that we were in a campfire on the Big Island of Hawaii, and a guy who had a car in the morning that I had borrowed to go to a traffic ticket appearance, and because somebody else wanted to use the vehicle, had to wait on me getting back, And because they were in a hurry as a result of time card programming, were getting very upset, which means they're experiencing longer waves, lower speed, was being transferred into another battery that was being held by a guy named Nathan who owned the car. So he calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, Robert, when are you going to be back?" And I said, "Well, there's a couple of road closures. It might take me an hour and a half. I will be back as soon as I'm done." Okay. Well, it came to be there were 4 road closures, and I didn't get back for a couple of hours. So what ends up happening, as you can imagine, is the other people that wanted to borrow the car were extremely upset because they wanted to leave at a particular time that suited them, which is sort of like service to self, okay? And they ended up getting tickets, 5 tickets, by the Hawaii County Police on the way to where they were going. So who do you think they blamed on those tickets? They dumped it all on Nathan. Nathan held in all that energy all day. What does he want to do? Who wants to, hold on to all that lower frequency energy? He's holding on to that with his magnet. So that night, sitting around a campfire with 5 of us, this is where the vampire comes out. It's the next thing you know, I knew because of my state of awareness, I knew he wanted to release it. So I wasn't going to allow him to release it, which was going to end up draining the batteries of everybody in that circle. So what I did, I said, "Hey, Nathan, I know you're holding on to all that, and that's okay. Go ahead and express what you want to express and get it out." So his anger came out. So now what's happened is you can feel, because I'm aware of it, the lowering in the energy of the other people in the circle. They didn't want to experience that energy. We didn't want to experience the energy, which were the other 2 people that were there. So you begin to see how the vampire was draining the batteries of 5 people in a circle. Okay? That's how it works. That's energy draining stuff. That's how it works. So that's what happens when you begin to realize the difference between living in a state of peace and when we are experiencing energies that are lower than what we are in a state of peace. If we cannot find a way to diffuse it, not react to it, and instead transmute it, because we have the ability to do that, because we've mastered our energy field. That's the purpose of the classroom, is to learn how to do that. So I thought to myself, when you're not thinking about being in a state of peace, because it's natural, your mind, the mind of our heart, connected as one in our living spirit with all living spirit in creation. So why is 500 million hertz the law here? In a cosmic classroom, how can a teacher graduate humanity if they have not learned how to live in peace within their own mind, light body, and spirit in a biosphere with this biosphere? Everyone here is in the living spirit of a biosphere. That biosphere is a classroom. So how can she expect to graduate her students if they can't live in peace with nature here in this biosphere? How can she expect humanity to be able to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance with others in other star systems? Because graduation is love and service to others. Because we have all the energy we need to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance with the cosmos. That's graduation in a cosmic classroom. In the Milky Way galaxy, university campus system. So I'll leave everyone that to think about for the day, because that's the truth. The truth is in our heart. That's where love is. Have a peaceful day in love and service to others. I hope you all enjoy the time you have with your children, your families, and everything in living spirit on this planet. Aloha lana kea. We love you all.